Welcome, tech enthusiasts and public sector procurement aficionados. You're listening to Cloud Hopping, where we navigate the sometimes stormy seas of the G-Cloud 14 framework.
Stormy seas? Mark, I thought we were in the cloud, not on a pirate ship.
Tom, you know me. Always mixing my metaphors like a DJ at a government-approved rave. Today, we're diving into the cast of characters in our digital drama, key stakeholders and their roles in the UK digital marketplace. It's like Game of Thrones, but with fewer dragons and more acronyms. Let's start with the big cheese, the top dog, the Cersei Lannister of our tale, the Crown Commercial Service, or CCS. Tom, care to enlighten our listeners about this procurement powerhouse?
Gladly, Mark. The CCS is like the dungeon master of a very complex game of Dungeons and Dragons, except instead of slaying dragons, they're slaying inefficiencies in government spending.
So they're more like the dungeon master of deals? Go on, what exactly do they do in this game of procurement?
Well, they're the central purchasing body for the UK government. They manage the G-Cloud framework, oversee the digital marketplace, set procurement policies, manage supplier relationships, and ensure everyone's playing by the rules.
Sounds like they've got more on their plate than a contestant on the Great British Bake Off. Speaking of which, who's next in our recipe for digital success? Next up, we have the Government Digital Service, or GDS. Think of them as the Q to the government's James Bond.
Ooh, do they have exploding pens and invisible cars?
Not quite, Mark. They're more into transforming government services than creating gadgets. GDS leads the digital transformation of government, working with CCS to develop and maintain the digital marketplace platform.
So, they're like the Avengers of the digital world, assembling to make government services more user-friendly?
That's actually not a bad analogy. They ensure the digital marketplace meets the needs of both buyers and suppliers. Speaking of which, shall we move on to the buyers? Yes, the buyers, the bargain hunters of the public sector. Tom, who exactly are we talking about here?
Well, Mark, imagine if Black Friday was a year-round event. But instead of fighting over discounted TVs, people were calmly selecting cloud services.
Sounds much more civilized. But who are these composed shoppers?
They're a diverse bunch: central government departments, local councils, NHS trusts, educational institutions. They use the digital marketplace to find, compare, and procure services that meet their specific requirements.
So it's like a dating app, but for public sector organizations and cloud services? Swipe right for SaaS?
That's one way to put it. Though I'd say it's more like a very specialized Amazon, without the next-day delivery option.
Now let's talk about the suppliers. These are the folks setting up shop in our digital bazaar, right?
Exactly. We're talking about SMEs and larger companies offering cloud and digital services through the G-Cloud framework. They're like the vendors at a farmer's market, but instead of organic vegetables, they're selling cutting-edge tech solutions.
Nothing like the smell of fresh APIs in the morning. What are their responsibilities in this digital farmer's market?
They need to list their services, keep their information accurate, and deliver on their promises once they land a contract. It's like running an Etsy shop, but with a lot more paperwork and government oversight.
Sounds like a real party. Who else is invited to this digital shindig? Well, we've got the Cabinet Office, which is like the director of this whole digital theater production. They set the overall strategy and policy direction for government procurement.
So they're the ones shouting action and cut behind the scenes?
More or less. Then we have technology industry bodies like Tech UK, which are like the agents for the tech suppliers, representing their interests and working with the government.
And let me guess, the end users are the audience in this production?
Spot on, Mark. The end users, citizens, and public sector employees are the ultimate beneficiaries of all this digital drama. They're the ones using these services in their day-to-day lives.
So it's like we're all part of one big, geeky, government-approved family?
That's actually a nice way to put it, Mark. A family that codes together, stays together. Now, Tom, I hear we've got a special treat for our listeners today. A Wardley map of our digital dramatis personae. Care to explain what that is for those who haven't joined the Wardley fan club yet?
Certainly, Mark. A Wardley map is like a treasure map for business strategy. But instead of X marking the spot for buried gold, it shows the relationships and evolution of different components in a system. In our case, it's mapping out the key players in the UK digital marketplace.
Sounds intriguing. What insights can we glean from this map of ours?
Well, the map reveals a well-structured ecosystem for digital procurement. The digital marketplace and G-Cloud framework are positioned as the solid foundation, like the bedrock of a digital Stonehenge.
Digital Stonehenge? Are we summoning the spirit of ancient druids to help with cloud computing now?
Not quite, Mark, but the map does show some interesting opportunities. There's potential to drive more innovation and increase SME participation, which could lead to more diverse and innovative digital services for end users.
So it's like we're looking at a game board, seeing where all the pieces are, and figuring out the best moves for the next round?
That's a great analogy, Mark. The key to future success lies in evolving this ecosystem to be more adaptive, fostering innovation, and creating a more level playing field for SMEs, while maintaining the efficiency and governance of the current system.
Sounds like a tall order, but I guess that's why they call it the cloud. Always reaching for new heights. Well, folks, we've journeyed through the star-studded cast of the UK digital marketplace. From the CCS's Iron Throne of procurement to the end users in the digital cheap seats, we've covered it all.
Indeed, Mark. And let's not forget our Wardley map, showing us the lay of the digital land. It's clear that understanding these stakeholders is crucial for SMEs looking to make their mark in the G-Cloud 14 framework.
Absolutely, Tom. So, dear listeners, whether you're a supplier looking to set up shop in this digital bazaar or a buyer searching for your perfect tech match, remember, in the game of clouds, you either win or you probably just try again next time. Until then, keep your head in the clouds and your feet on the digital ground.